They range from champion footballers, past and present, to men and women of all ages, from all walks of life. The common thread is their love of football, the bric-a-brac, the mementos, the trivia and the rarities. You will find them scouring junk shops, at sporting fairs and in the rooms of Australia's most prestigious auction houses. In this show we meet that burgeoning breed who are prepared to spend their hard-earned cash on a piece of memorabilia from years past. It might be a medallion, a footy jumper that has seen better days, or a scrap of paper with the name of a great champion inscribed forever. It may be displayed elegantly in pride of place, or quietly tucked away and put on display on special occasions. They're a rare group with a deep knowledge of football and its personalities. They are the collectors.
For one man, it's the red and white of South Melbourne. For another, a growing collection of newspaper posters featuring the grand final heroes stretching back into time. For two men, two different directions, and we meet them on the collectors. Michael Milne comes from a family that eats, breathes and lives football. For him, the main course is red and white, the Bloods of South Melbourne.
I've been a South Melbourne supporter all of my life. My grandpa got me into the game, and I'm here to show you a couple of my favourite pieces. Here's a little Jerry G from about the 50s, of which there aren't too many of these around. This used to be hooked onto the front of the tram. People used to get the tram down to the footy at the Albert Park ground. It's probably my favourite piece of all of my collectibles. And this is from the 50s as well. This is a beauty. Here are some annual reports, South Melbourne Football Club, handwritten, 1876, 77 and 78. These are 125 years old, extremely rare pieces, one of a kind. They're handwritten, as I said. And if I just read some of the expenditure in the year of 1877, we've got laces for balls. And the total expenditure for the club was £6 in that year. So it's pretty amazing stuff. Here's a magnificent piece of correspondence from the South Melbourne Football Club in 1911. Dear Sir, you have been selected to play in the match South Melbourne versus Collingwood on Saturday the 27th at South Melbourne. If you're unable to play, kindly let me know immediately. Yours faithfully, the Secretary of the club. As it happens, we have a card of this player, Mr. Sloss, and the only way that they could correspond with these players, there being no telephones in those days or a limited use of them, was to write a letter. And there's the letter. And this is in 1911. Everyone's bought a footy record. These are my favourites. These are from 1935, South Melbourne and Collingwood. They did a bit of a tour up the eastern seaboard, and they played a game in Brisbane and also a game in Newcastle. No bigger name in 35 than Bob Pratt, which is, he was nice enough to sign that one for me. And yeah, lovely pieces. These are rare, particularly so because the non-football public in New South Wales and Queensland were the only people who would have been at the game, and for these to have survived is rare in itself, so these are lovely pieces. Here's another one of my favourite pieces. This is a label from the back of a pair of footy shorts back in probably the 30s. Bob Pratt, as recommended and worn by Bob Pratt. Probably 99.9% of these would have been thrown out because they were just a label. And as you can see, I had this signed by Bob Pratt only a few years ago, and his signature is, well, hasn't changed a bit, has it? And while we're on Bob Pratt, here's a photo of Bob in 36, a la movie star. And in 36 he was as big as a movie star. 150 goals, still holds the record. Photo taken by Antoine. The 30s were the golden years for the South Melbourne Football Club, and here they had a review in the city at the King's Theatre in 1937. And they were up on stage, the players were up on stage dancing and singing along with the actors and the dancers of the time. And they were just the biggest thing in Melbourne, they were, the South Melbourne Football Club. There was no TV in the 30s, of course, and people flocked to see Bull Adams and Nash and all the other South Melbourne greats performing on stage in front of them. You wouldn't see that today. We've all got our favourites, and Bobby Skilton's mine. Here he is. This is probably one of his earliest photos. This is in the probably early to mid-50s, down at the Albert Park ground in South Melbourne. On the back here we've got E. Boyles. He was the unofficial yet official VFL photographer down in East Brunswick. He was such a star in those days that they even had him advertising drinks, in this case milk, showing all the young fellas what they should be drinking. And yeah, triple Brownlow medalist Bobby Skilton. Another favourite of mine is this premiership photo of the club back in 1918. These were made available for people within the club, but obviously in 1918 there weren't too many people who could afford a piece such as this. And this is probably one of only maybe 2 or 3 surviving now. So this is a wonderful piece. And given the condition that it's in, well, to me it's priceless. It's getting tougher with the entrance of the Sydney market. There's a lot of people from Sydney wanting to get into the South Melbourne memorabilia. But in the past, years ago, I sourced a lot of what I have here in front of me from the local area, from Albert Park and South Melbourne and Middle Park and all of those sorts of areas. So it was easier then. It's getting more difficult as every day goes by.
In this episode of The Collectors, we sent Michael's dad, Rick, one of the game's great authorities, on a mission to meet a man with a passion for one of football's most treasured collectibles, the much sought-after WEG posters. He met his match in Paul Connor.
Well, I'm Rick Milne, and today we're going to see an absolutely astounding collection of posters, in particular, done by a fellow called WEG. Paul Connor owns these, and nice to see you, Paul. How are you going?
Very well, thank you, Rick.
Now, Collingwood, 1958. This is one of the famous premiership teams.
Well, it's very special to me because I barracked for Collingwood, and if they didn't win in '58, I think I would have stopped barracking for them because they had such a bad record against Melbourne. Yeah. But that was the greatest win, I reckon, ever in VFL, AFL football.
Now, tell me something. I noticed all the players have signed. All of the players from the team signed?
Yes, that's the entire team signed, yes. And since we've lost Paul Ray Gablick, but he had signed for me when I got this. Yes.
South Melbourne down the bottom there, that's Bob Pratt, is it not? The famous goal kicker?
That's Bob Pratt. And
what's the story with that one?
Of course, I've done 100 years of AFL, VFL Premiership posters starting in 1897, and I did the first, and my intention was just to do one of each year, one personality, and I thought to myself, who would I put in the 33? And I thought Laurie Nash. I have to go to Laurie Nash.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
So subsequent to that, I found out that Bob Pratt was still alive, and I thought, well, I've got to go and see him.
Good.
I tracked him down, and I asked him to sign this poster of Laurie Nash, and he said, well, I don't want to sign that. He said, why wouldn't you do a poster of me? He said, I'm alive, Laurie Nash is dead. I kicked 150 goals in a year, and he didn't. And
pretty compelling argument, isn't it, really?
Well, it was, and I said, well, I'll break my golden rule that I've set immediately, and I'll do 2 posters of 1933. And of course, the Bob Pratt poster did prove the more popular, and in fact one of the most popular of all the posters that I've done.
How about that? Okay, we'll go on to Mighty Hawks, their very first premiership, 1961.
1961.
And the great Brendan Edwards.
That's Brendan Edwards.
Yep.
We had to do the poster twice before Brendan was happy with it, and even so he wasn't happy. He said, I didn't have brushback hair. I don't know where you got that from. Yeah. Well, in fact, we got it from the Cornies card, the last year of the Cornies cards.
Cornies breakfast cereal.
So he said, all right, we'll leave it at that. And,
and
we did that, and they're signed by all the team except I think there were 3 had passed away at the time
John
I've done it.
Others, yeah, good. Nice one. Okay, going on to, I see this one at the top here, is 1906. Now, that would be one of your earliest. What was your first year of these?
Well, the first year is when the VFL started in 1897, and this is, of course, the start of the great Carlton winning run from 1906, 1907, 1908, and that's their old colours.
And that's the captain of the day.
I'm not sure that he was. He could have been. That's
certainly one of the stars.
That's Mick Grace. He certainly was. He was a ruckman, and in fact he played in the Fitzroy premiership wins of 1898 and 1899 with his brother Jim.
How about that? Now I noticed there's a signature on there.
The signature is his son, Eric Grace, who was 90 when he signed that, and he said he was delighted to sign on behalf of his father.
How about that? Isn't that great? Now pictures you got around around the side of that one, where did they come from? They're obviously players from that team.
Yes, there's 14 of the 18 players depicted there, and they are from photos taken by a Swiss studio. And they were in the football record of the day. That was from the 1907 record,
yeah.
and I reproduced them and cut them out. It was actually a private record, football record, put out by a chap called Spring.
Oh, how about that? Yeah, nice one. Going on, Polly Farmer down the bottom there,
Polly
63.
Farmer, yes.
Last time the Cats won one.
That's right, and we hope they can win another one, and maybe they will do it very soon, I would say.
And Polly signed that, I guess.
Polly signed that, yes. He signs it, Graham Polly Farmer.
How about that?
Lovely man.
Yeah,
lovely
good man. And then my boys, the Mighty Roys, 1944, which was the last time Fitzroy actually won a premiership, and that's one of the most famous players of all, isn't it, from
yes,
the Roys?
Yes, that's the fullback.
Yep.
And Fred Hewson,
Yep.
he was also the captain.
He was a Warrnambool boy, wasn't he?
He was,
Yeah.
and he is credited with one of the longest drop kicks on record, 83 yards, I think. He was kicking against the Americans during the war, and he kicked the longest or something, I can't remember. But he also he would have won the Brownlow that year, had the Brownlow been going. He was credited with being the best player
yeah.
of the year. And that's signed by the last 7. One of them was the emergency, but all of the players the 6 who were alive at the time, insisted that the emergency sign it, so indeed he did.
Now, Paul, we've talked about these. They're called WEG posters. Now,
Yes.
a lot of people are going to think, what on earth's a WEG poster? What's it mean exactly? And
Well, I mean, WEGs, in my view, are one of the greatest football collectibles, and they will endure. The WEG, of course, is an acronym. That is WEG means William E. Green. He is the artist, and he was the artist for the Herald back in the 40s, I think.
Melbourne Herald, yeah.
The Melbourne Herald.
Yep.
And in 1954, the Herald put out their first Herald poster, and it's become a tradition, indeed benefiting the Royal Children's Hospital over the years to the tune of many millions of dollars, etc. But they only started in 1954, and I decided that we would try and convince Bill Green to do the earlier years, and then when we did the years that followed on, that is when they were simultaneous with the Herald ones, we would do them differently so that there'd be no confusion between the two.
It's a good idea. And of course, it gives people a chance, people like me,
That's right.
a chance to pick up a Fitzroy poster because they hadn't won one from 1954 onwards.
That's right, and the same with South Melbourne.
South Melbourne, yep.
And it's also historically interesting to look at the best players over all those years. It's a wonderful historical documentation of the history of football.
We've just scratched the surface. We'll be back with Rick Milne and our special guest Paul Connor after the break on The Collectors. Once upon a time, they were used to sell newspapers. Today, these grand final posters are keenly sought after by footy collectors. We're with Paul Connor, a man who's made this specialty his own.
Now, Paul, the Mighty Saints have only won one, but it was a beauty in 1966. Won it by a point. And the scores were tied with a minute or two to go, and then Barry Breen kicked that terrible one that just fell through for a behind. And I guess he's one of the most famous players of all time, isn't he?
It was a mongrel punt.
It was a shocker.
But it got there and defeated Collingwood.
Now, what's he written on your poster here?
He's written here, take care of the points and the victories take care of themselves. And then he signed it, and he's put a logo that he uses quite often now. It's the goals and point posts, and it's got a football in between the goal and the point post to represent his part in that victory.
Just struggling through. It's amazing because I remember Kevin Neal kicked 5 goals that day, and he says nobody even thinks about those. All they think about is this point that this bloke kicked. It's the only thing he did all day. It was very funny.
Yeah, it's wonderful competition between since that game between Kevin and Barry Breen. But Barry says I won the game. It was a point.
He's right. Okay, let's go on to the other one, which is of course the great Essendon team from 1993 with Michael Long, one of the all-time great players for the Mighty Bombers. And I noticed he signed that one for you as well.
Yes, Michael signed that, and he was the Norm Smith medalist in that game, in that win, and I felt he was the most significant player to go on the poster, and he graciously accepted it.
And he's done a lot for football amongst the Indigenous people, hasn't he?
Well, he certainly has, and he continues to do so. And you constantly see him on television programs where he's contributing not only to football but to Indigenous football as well.
Paul, 1957, John Beckwith, champion at Melbourne.
Yes, he was, and he was their captain too.
And he could kick that ball around the boundary line like nobody else, couldn't he?
Yes, 80 metres, bounce, 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 out of bounds.
Pretty good stuff. Peter Knight's champion at the Hawks, 1976, 90 there, and he signed it as well.
Yes, Peter Knight's great stalwart of the Hawthorn Footy Club.
And the Dons, 65, they were premiers that year, of course, and Kenny Fraser.
He was the captain that year.
And a super player, of course. Okay, this is a bit of a special, the 66 in Kilda, the one and only. But I've noticed that you've got heaps of signatures on that one.
Yes, I've been around to see the whole of the team, so that the whole team is signed, as well as the coach. And in fact, it's the oldest team where everyone's still alive. They're all still alive at the moment.
Yeah. How about that? And one to finish with on this little line along here. Essendon from 1942, the champion himself, the man who won 3 Brownlow medals, the mighty Dick Reynolds.
Dick Reynolds, yes. Well, he's signed on his own chin, so he's taken the liberty there.
Yeah, good enough.
And,
good stuff.
There's Ted Lehane and Wally Buttsworth is signed.
All the champs. Now listen, what have we got here? What's this all about?
Well, this is where I store the posters.
Now these are the posters that you've had done by WEG.
Yes.
They're done of recent times.
Yes.
And you've got these for sale.
These are for sale, that's right.
Well, let's haul a couple out and have a look at them. We've got the Bombers here, 85, with young Terry Danaher, who was the captain of the time.
Yes.
What do these sell for?
$10 they sell for.
Cheap
$10
enough.
a poster, yes.
Cheap enough, I'd say. $10 a piece. And there's young Terry Danaher. And this looks like the Spider-Man himself from 2000.
That's Dustin Fletcher.
There's the man with the long arms. And that's a great one. So these are $10 a piece?
$10 a piece.
And where do you get these? At the around the sports stores or where?
Oh, you can get them, yes, there's a few outlets. There's no major outlet, but they can certainly get them from myself if they
Like that?
contact me.
All right, well, let's have a look at another drawer, see what else you've got in this little exercise here. What are these? Oh, the Blue Baggers. Okay.
Some of the Carlton ones.
Yep, all right, 95.
Yes.
With the man himself, Diesel.
Diesel Williams.
And he was he not the
Norm Smith.
yeah, the Norm Smith,
Yes, he
best and
was,
fairest
yeah.
in the grand final on that day,
I
wasn't
think
he?
that was a pretty good choice, that one.
Good one, yep. And then we've got 1972.
Well, that's Big Nick.
The big man himself, one of the greatest ruckmen that ever played the game. Carlton,
Indeed,
1972.
I agree with that.
Yeah, super player.
He was the captain coach that year.
And these are a mere $10 a piece.
Mere $10, and it continues the WEG tradition. And obviously, if you wanted to get a Herald one, well, the price, you'd be priced out. You wouldn't be able to get it.
That's the reason you've done these in some respects, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
It puts them within in everybody's grasp.
Well,
price.
and for the first time, Fitzroy supporters are able to get their own poster.
And I've got mine. Let me tell you, mine's already up in the house and very proud of that, 1944. Because as you said, they didn't start officially until 1954. So especially for South Melbourne supporters and
South
Fitzroy
Melbourne as
supporters,
well.
here's our chance to buy one.
There's a big bonus there.
It certainly is. Okay, now we're going to look at some Herald posters, Paul. These are the ones that you could be able to buy straight after the game, straight after the grand final. Of course, what they had to do is to print up 2 sets. So in other words, you've got the set for the team that won, the set for the team that didn't win. The ones that didn't win went straight in the bin. And of course, you're able to buy the winning team's poster right after the game. This is one of the losers, and therefore, in its own right, is pretty valuable, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's valuable in that it's rare, and it's probably never been seen by the public because they're just not around.
Thrown out, 99% thrown away.
Exactly.
Okay, another one we'll have a look at is, I think this is a really lovely one, great piece of... WEG was just a superb artist, really, and this is just a little work of art, this one, done for '88 when Melbourne unfortunately was beaten by the Hawks, and that's a lovely piece of work, isn't it?
It is. I particularly like that one, and it would make a lot of the Melbourne fans cry that they missed out when they came so close after, I'd say, 24 years after that, wasn't it?
Sure was. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of these. Again, just fabulous artwork. I mean, look at that tiger there. I just think it's a classic, 1982.
Certainly. But his style seems to change, though, as he gets later on. That saint is certainly most different from the earlier saint we saw.
Yeah, it is too. One of my favourites in this lot here is is this Maggie, I reckon. And again, this is one of the losing ones. As we said, maybe the Collingwood people aren't terribly happy about all of this. You know, but they don't like to remember the ones that got, you know, no team likes to lose the grand final, but they are still so important because they're, in some cases, there are so few of these left because they were thrown out. Yes. But it's a lovely piece of art, isn't it? Yes,
it is, and it's part of the folklore of football, I think, and it's important to keep these. But he's got his beanie cap on, and his boot is hooked over the football like a talon, and it's a magnificent piece of work. And until I recently got this, I'd never ever seen this image, never seen it before. So.
Nor have I. So it's a super duper piece. And just a couple more, the Kangas in '98 and one from the Hawks in '84, a couple of beauties as well. Right. Of course, by 1998, the Herald and the Sun had joined together, it became the Herald Sun, so a slightly different sort of a format. That's but there's the Kanga and the Mighty Hawks.
And a different look too, isn't it?
Totally different look. Yes, as he's changed his style. Yeah, beautiful. So we're looking at the work of a master because there's no doubt that W.E. Green was a master at his craft.
And still is.
And still is. I have no problem with people who reproduce items so long as they let us know that it's a reproduction. That's fine, no problem with that. Where we run into a problem is when people reprint an item that you think is the real thing. And I know people have spent a fortune on buying some of these WEG posters and they've ended up with fakes. Now, be really careful about this. One of us is holding a fake and one's holding the real thing. Paul, tell us the difference.
Well, that's the original that you're holding, Rick. Mm-hmm. That was put out on the day. In actual fact, that was put out on the day of the drawn grand final. Now, this one here is a subsequent reprint, and it's taken from the plates that were used to print the first one. So now the differences that I see are certainly the paper is white. The paper is nowhere near as old as your one, and then you've got the printing down below. The lettering down below is fuzzy and indecipherable on some of the words, and there's a lot of detail missing, particularly through here where you've got more details. So it's sort of the cutout through the premiers. But you've got to look at these things. You've got to look at them very carefully because you may be throwing good money after. Throwing good money away.
Well, what you've got to be careful of is, well, at the very least, get some good advice before you start buying these, because these can be pretty expensive. They can cost you $200-300 a piece at least, and you just make sure you get some really good advice before you start buying. Now, Paul, you're the secretary manager of what?
The Premiership Players Club.
A football club?
Yes, it's a football club.
Okay, so it's all those who played in premierships or been involved with premierships, is that right?
That's right. It's members of an AFL or VFL side or who've coached an AFL side.
Okay, tell us about these. We've seen the posters, now tell me about these stamps.
Well, these are an issue of stamps that our club put out. The first one was put out in the year 2000, and it's put out by Australia Post, and there's 20 premiership players on personalised stamps, and we've produced 500 numbered ones, and I reckon I'm very excited about them because I think it's one of the great potential collectibles. And in fact, the one you're holding up, they've been sold out.
Is that right? This is the first series,
That's
is it?
The first series.
Okay. Let's have a look at number 2. This is the second, which came out the year following, is that right?
That's right. That's 2001, and they go from 1939 right up to 1996, I think. The players who are on them.
Okay. And you've now got a third one out, which is for next year.
Yes, that's for 2002. Yeah, that's just been released now. That's right. Mm.
Okay, and the players again, different players each year?
Different players each year, and we try and work on the basis of going back as far as we can for obviously living players we want, and we try and do the 12 suburban sides. We ran out with South Melbourne though, because the only living premiership player was Bob Pratt, and he's now sadly passed away.
Now, how do people go about getting these?
Well, they're only for sale through the Premiership Players Club, and the Premiership Players Club phone number is 9737 6902.
That's with an 03 in front.
That's with an 03. Or they can fax an order of on fax 03 9737 6901, and the price of them is $105, and there are signed ones, but they're more expensive. But if they can make inquiries about that if they wish.
Now, one thing I can tell you is that the first set, the one that's now not available any longer, is selling for a lot more than $105.
It is. I've personally been aware of them selling at $300 a sheet.
That's it. That's absolutely right. So, good investments. Now, just something pretty special we've got here. This is most unusual. It's a Premiership Players Club jumper.
Well, our committee decided that they wanted to have a jumper made up, and it was designed by the committee, and we produce a limited number each year, and I think the most we've produced is probably about 20 or 30. So they're not on sale to the public. We use them for fundraisings at auctions and the like. But each year we show that it's a different year by putting the actual year on it, and we're yet to produce the 2002 jumper, but we keep the same design and format, and we have a lot of fun getting our members to sign it, and they go for very big prices at auctions if you're lucky enough to be able to bid and be successful in purchasing one.
Excellent.
I must say, sorry to butt in, but I must say that our president, Mr. Jack Collins, says that the public can get a Collingwood jumper or an Essendon jumper, but they can't get a Premiership Players Club jumper. So we're fiercely proud of that.
Good idea. Wonderful. Now, Paul Connor, you've shown us some amazing things today. All of your posters, your stamps, this wonderful piece here. Thanks very much for doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, it's my pleasure too. Thank you.
Whether you hunger for the artistry of Bob Pratt in the 30s or the artistry of Weg today, you're in good company, part of that ever-growing band known as the Collectors.